Welcome back to the first episode of the second season of The Truth with Trinity, and I am your host, Trinity. Here I talk about issues that happen within the black community, hopefully, some resolutions, or at least some type of food for thought to go about your everyday. And I wanted to start off saying, you know, since we are, let's just say, our forefathers, they disobeyed God and this curse was put on us, to be over hostage, serving, looked at as subordinates in another country, such as the country we're in now. Some people refer to us as the children of Israel, but however you like to take it, uh, we not only lost our freedom, but we lost our identity. So um, it's just so much to cover. Hopefully, I can go back and forth. The problems that we as a people overall, but also uh, the problems that sisters have, and the problems that we have from brothers. But I mean, I can go into depth as to say what I see the problem is, and hopefully some solutions. But I'm not a man, so you know it's going to be limited as far as the scopes of manhood because I am a woman. Okay, so with that small disclosure, I would like to jump right into the topic: the recipe of turning black queens into prostitutes. So I'm going to make a small disclaimer. Not every black woman is a prostitute. Not every black woman presents herself in a promiscuous manner. So I've made that small disclaimer. And if we're going to be real about it, we have a problem within our community across the world and definitely in America with the over infatuation of the video vixen, um, get him for all the money that we can type of woman, and it's killing our families, it's killing our children, and it's killing the values within our own community so that we can build back stronger. Okay, so once again, getting back into the topic, once again, the recipe of turning black queens into prostitutes. Okay, so I want to start off with the little black girl. Okay, and I start off with the little black girl because most of the time, um, she she emulates her mother. So whatever her mother does, most of the time, the image that her mother portrays to her, and there's also the lack of influence from the male father figure. And if there is a father figure in the house, a lot of times it's not the little girl's father. And if it is a little girl's father, it can also at times be negative. And this goes out to the fathers out there. Um, I would like for the black brothers to really do some self searching within their own self when they say, hey, I love my black daughters. I'll kill a rock over them. I'll beat a guy up over them. You know, Everyone on the block knows not to touch my daughters, but in the next breath, they're calling women out of their names. They're disrespecting black women that may not be their family members, and it's kind of like an oxymoron. Like, how do you think that you're going to have all this disrespect for the average black woman, and it's not going to rub off subconsciously how you treat your daughters, and they're not going to see that and view that, and you think you're showing them this respect, but respect is being there, being accountable, showing her how to be treated by men, um, being on time, being someone that your daughter can rely on, and being the example to other women that you would like her to see so that she will know the type of man to pick. So you can't be out here Don Juan and pimping and abusing women, and expect, for you to hide that from your daughter and think that, because if you think that it's okay to treat women like that and you get a habit of that, regardless if you agree with it or not, you're going to treat your daughters disrespectful. And I see that with a lot of young black men, and black men in general. They regard women as whores and sexually dispensable, and they even go so far as to disrespect their daughters. We have incidences of incest and molestation, so much because there's so much of a lack of regard for the female human body, and that right there just breaks the flowering of the young black woman, which deflowers her, and so that already gives her this broken chasm of into a world of prostitution, even from a very young age. So I want to go on to the second point, which kind of ties into the first one, being exposed to abuse. So, physically, um, sexually, from brothers, uncles, even if, as a father, you're not around, and letting, she's being exposed to other men that her mother may be dating. So basically, just a broken trust from men from the get go, and growing up into teenagehood, um, which goes into the third point, which is losing hope and trust in men, because a lot of men nowadays complain that black women are so angry, right? We're so angry, so bitter. And that goes from the inner anger, um, at, I believe, even if a lot of black women cannot express it, I think it's in a woman's nature to have this expectation of protection, not from all men that you come in contact with, but definitely the men that are, telling you that they want to be with you, they want to marry you, especially the men that you grew up around, your fathers, your brothers. And when that type of trust is broken, you know, um, if, your sister's having a problem and you're just like, so what? Or deal with it. Or if a guy's beating on her or anything, or if she, is in a financial bind and she finds herself having to maybe ask strange men versus being able to ask her father, because maybe her father, and she grows up around men that are like, hey, get it out here how you live, which opens young women up prostitution. Okay, because if they, can't get it from their the people that are supposed to support them, and I'm not saying she's supposed to freeload, but I'm definitely talking about younger girls that are under 18 that are supposed to be able to depend on their male, family members, um, and having and lacking that puts her in a more of a vulnerable position to be exposed to men who will ask for sexual favors, um, for shoes and different things like that. Okay, so um, going into point number 4, constantly being let down after sex with no commitment. So, as a young girl, a young lady, I would say, um, hopefully, once you start having sex and, sexual relationships, most times, most young ladies, they like to give their virginity away to a man that uh, they consider long term. And, through life, you learn, some women are lucky. They get married after losing their virginity. But after time, you start to see that, you know, sometimes, a lot of times, um, a guy will tell you anything just to have sex with you. And they may promise a relationship, and that's part of the deflowering right there, because these women, a lot of these young girls, are um, performing these sexual acts to appease a man's appetite, and as they say in the streets, turning a girl out. So, she was in the bed, didn't know too much about sex, very stiff and rigid like a virgin, and then you have her doing all these moves and whatnot to your appetite, and then dismissing her. Um, and then, brothers on the street and in the world got this thing of your vagina isn't worth anything. And that right there is part of the destruction of what's going on in our society, especially with black women and men, because number one, you shouldn't look at a woman as her vagina isn't worth anything anyway, because number two, what are you telling your daughter that her vagina is worth when men are trying to chase after her? Okay? So you shouldn't reduce women to just their body part. And I encourage men to stop doing that because it's destroying our sisters out here and our young sisters because we are worth more than our vagina. And the key to that is to stop looking at women for just their vagina. Okay? Um, because, like I said, the sex with no commitment is really causing women to get this idea of prostitution, which ties me to my fifth point, feeling that she has to get something out of the deal. Because once a young woman starts to have so much sex and to see that a guy might promise to be your boyfriend, then after you give him the goods, he's gone. A lot of young girls and women get the idea, well, I've got to get something out the deal. So there's no marriage. He's not really serious. He told me, like they say, sell you a dream. And so then women get this idea, well, he's got the vagina, so I'm going to get what I can get out of it. He's not promising me a family. He's not promising me anything, so I'm going to get something out of it. And guys, especially with our brothers, got this thing in their head, well, I'm giving you sex and you're giving me sex. You know good and darn well that that is just not equivalent. You're walking away with the dignity that you still have as a man, and that woman will be considered a whore for having more than one man that she slept with. So right then and there, it's unequal, okay? So I encourage black men to stop having sex with young women and women, period, and that you're on player mode. You know that you don't want any commitment. And what makes it even more dangerous, that that you may be that you're dealing with a woman. You know what type of woman you're dealing with. And if you know that she wants a relationship and you don't, but you're so greedy that you choose to sleep with her anyway to destroy another woman who it just creates a domino effect that may heal herself or she may go out to go use men. Okay, so let's go into number 6. The only way she can garner attention from a man is to be sexually explicit. So, which I might have to do a part 2 on this because I don't want to make these podcasts too long. But, you know, women and men's needs are pretty much different, yet the same but different. And sometimes as a woman, and this kind of goes on us as sisters, if every time you talk to a guy, and the only way that you can gain his attention is to talk about sex or to show something of yourself, then that is not the guy for you. But this also goes on brothers too. Um, the black woman shouldn't feel like the only way that she can get attention from you is through sex. Because that's what's wrong with our people. Is that it's just sex, sex, sex. What about building something together? What about what you want for a future? If you're talking to a woman that doesn't have any answers, maybe that's not the woman for you. And if, as a sister, if you're talking to a brother and you're trying to hold a educated conversation and he has nothing to say, all you hear is silence. But then when you talk about sexual topics, then he livens up. Then you already know that's a sign that he's only looking for sex. But I encourage brothers, if they want to be taken more seriously, that they go study and they go do something productive with their life so that they will have something more to offer than just having sex and the topics of sex. Okay, because that's ruining our sisters. Number 7, the fear of being vulnerable and loving a man because she may get played. So this is number 7, okay, of the recipe of turning black queens into prostitutes. So, people get hurt every day. Life happens, There are no guarantees in life. But when, a lot of times, a guy, I've heard it before myself, don't let, and I've had a guy say to me, don't let one bad apple ruin it for the rest of the guys, right? And I would like to discuss that because a lot of times in a woman's life, it's not just one bad apple. Women are not that fragile. Most of the time, it's guy after guy, okay? And then you'll hear a lot of brothers say, well, it's the men you're picking. And I challenge brothers on this because if my selection process is that bad, or the sisters' process of selection on men is that bad, then why are so many women saying the same thing about black brothers? So, my point is, we're all not dating the same man, okay? And every woman out here isn't loose. But what that's doing is, you hear a black man saying, I want a submissive woman. I want a feminine woman. I want a woman that's not going to argue with me every time I say something. Let me have the last word sometime. Trust that I can make the right decision. Okay? And, that takes trust. Okay? And a lot of times there have been sisters that have given that man trust, have opened up to that man. And some of our brothers are so damaged that they'll purposely open a woman up for love and put a dagger right in her heart on purpose because of maybe some issues that he has, because the black man has a very hard life as well. But still, it's damaging our women because, after that happens time after time again, then you get the hardened woman. So it's not one bad apple, and it's time and time again. And I think a lot of times that has led some of our black women to not only prostitution, but also lesbianism. Because I don't think every black woman is just so in love with women. I think they're just so closed off by men because they can't take another man telling them to trust them. Because it takes trust to let a man lead. Because after all, we're both adults here. Okay, so a grown woman, a grown man, but you're asking for her to follow your reign. You have to have something to follow. Okay, and so it's important for black men to teach their sons that she's not supposed to just follow your sexual genitalia, but she's also supposed to have something to follow, something that you have going on, a purpose in your life. Okay, and not to lead her to destruction. So I'm going into so that's pretty much it right there. So I think that's pretty much the recipe of what turns our black women, or some of the pinpoints. So not all of them, some of them, on what turns some of our black women into prostitutes. And some tips I have, like I said, to encourage black men to try to get a deeper understanding to their purpose on the particular woman they're dating. So I encourage black men not to just study their sexual moves in the bed on how to be like King Kong in bed, but to study the essence of a woman. And what I find out here is that a lot of men love what women smell like. They like what they look like, what they feel like, but they could care less about anything about who a woman truly is, how she feels, what she thinks, what's different between how women like to be loved and what and how men like to be loved. What's considered a good woman, a bad woman? How do you know the difference? Okay, and I encourage black men to study that. Okay, than just sex with a woman. And like I said, I wanted to reiterate again. If you're in player mode as a black man, and you just want to play the field, that's fine, but be open and honest, okay? I strongly encourage you not to date women that are looking for relationships and serious commitments, and that just out of your own selfish sexual gratification to sleep with her and dump her, because what that's doing is that's creating more damage on the psyche of the black woman, which causes her to have more hatred on the black man, which goes to her womb, and when she produces out of these acts of lust, okay, especially if it was a woman who was looking for a serious relationship, all that's going to do is cause more children to be born in a womb of confusion and hatred. And then we're going to have more black boys growing up saying, hey, my mom hated me because I look like my dad. And what did my dad do? And more little girls growing up, being neglected from mothers who are trying to run from motherhood, you know, from men that, really had no intention but just a sexual affair. Okay. From lies and deceit. Okay. And to teach our sons, so the third point is to teach our sons the value of a woman is worth more than her sex. Okay? So that pretty much wraps up this segment. I thought it was going to be two parts. Hope it wasn't too long. Um, if you would like to get in contact with me, you can at thetruthwithtrinity@gmail.com. You can also listen to the podcast on YouTube under the same name. It's been a pleasure. Peace and blessings.